It's tough to run away from the past. In fact, it's impossible. Yet somehow in 2025, Scott Fitterer's hands are still on the operation. And it's like Voldemort. No matter what happens, Dan Morgan, you can run, but you can't hide. You can get in the car and go 150 miles per hour. You can spend $150 million on the O-line. You're not getting away from Chandler Zavala. He will be starting at guard for the Panthers in 2025. To add a cherry on top of the sundae, you'll have DJ Johnson playing 52% of snaps against the New England Patriots in your Week 3 matchup. You can run, but you can't hide. This is Voldemort. This is Voldemort, a monstrous set of personnel decisions from 2-3 seasons ago, from years ago. Sometimes you can't get away from the stench. And I thought you were better than that. But now injuries, they come up, and as hell rises, as you're probably going to be without Cade Mays, Canales not confident in Cade Mays' status for Sunday. Corbett's going to go inside to center. Taylor Moton did not practice. You might not have him on the field. This O-line, Brady Christensen, the biggest one, ruptured his Achilles on Sunday. We've known he's been out. And as hell rises around you, Voldemort, he comes to remind you of Chandler Zavala's 7.1 PFF grade in 2023. Hey, Dave Canales, I'm Scott Fitterer. Are you going to put an injured Bryce Young into the game? Yes, that quarterback who could be a franchise cornerstone, according to some. You're going to put him behind Chandler Zavala. And somehow his hands are still on it. Oh my gosh, it's been a tough week as a Carolina Panthers fan watching this unfold. And Canales looks a little bit scared. He looks like a deer in the headlights. That was my takeaway. We're going to go into some clips from the Panthers coach talking about the quarterback, talking about the O-line. In all honesty, Bryce Young looked pretty good at practice on Wednesday. He was moving a lot better than I thought. Dropping back, listed as a full participant at Panthers practice on Wednesday. I think if the offensive line is healthy, it's a different story. I told you I wasn't optimistic in his status Wednesday morning. After watching the practice footage, I'm a little bit more optimistic. But if you're talking about Yosh Nijman and Chandler Zavala blocking this Micah Parsons-led impressive Packers pass rush, oh geez. Can you put your nimble, potentially tender-ankled quarterback behind this offensive line? Can you do that? I don't know. That's a tough decision. We'll go into what Canales had to say about the quarterback. First, I want to go into this, because this keeps coming up, and I really want someone to write a piece on this. Maybe Mike K is doing it already. Quality Leadership Council meeting. So it's like, whenever it's a bunch of words like that no one understands, it's corporate. It comes from the corporate people. It comes from the business people. It's a bunch of big words that, you need to go to college to be able to use them. You can understand it. Anyone can understand it, but the only people that actually speak this way are people that go to college. That's why you go to college, so you can talk like this. Quality Leadership Council meeting. I'm Dave Canales, walking in with my slacks and my sports coat into the Quality Leadership Council meeting. And Rico Dowdle's not invited to that. He's not. Chuba Hubbard, he certainly is. It's a group of veterans that are meeting with the Panthers coach. I'm intrigued by it. We'll get more information on it. I just find it interesting. It's an interesting concept. They do these quarterly meetings. And by quarterly, I think they mean every 4 games. So it's not like... So again, it's literally using the business language for no reason. No one is calling it quarters. You have Q1 and Q2 of the football season. Dave, I promise we're going to get you those Q2 reports. I promise you. Those Bryce Young statistics, we're going to get them to you in your hands by next Tuesday. They're talking to this guy like he's like he's an accountant. So I'm interested in learning more about the quarterly leadership council meeting. It sticks out to me. I don't know if it's relevant to you. I'm sorry if it's not, but like, oh my gosh, it's just so ridiculous. It's like they're running like a health insurance fund or something. They're running a brokerage in Carolina with these meetings. Okay, here's Dave Canales and the status of the quarterback.
Complicate what you're able to do and what the expectations are when the quarterbacks are kind of uncertain as to their availability.
Yeah, we have to consider that. We have to consider who's out there and what they're capable of doing as we put our game plan together. And, the hope is that we can do as much as possible in the same way that we've been functioning. And that goes into the decision, for Bryce last week, how much can we ask him to do in this game, and didn't feel like, it was time. And this week, as we're evaluating him to see what he can do, just making sure that we have our full complement of plays, to balance out our attack.
So Canales comments there, he wants, here's the quote, "The hope is we can do as much as possible in the same way we have been functioning." Talks about the game plan, talks about the suite of plays he can call. So to me, I think it's news for all three quarterbacks. I think it's kind of bad news for Dalton, who had the inflamed thumb. Canales said it happened early in the game and partly ascribed the thumb to being the reason Dalton struggled on another note. In terms of his readiness, I don't know how he's going to play with a messed up thumb on his throwing hand. Like, especially after last week. And Canales talking there, we know he said it multiple times, the game plan doesn't change between Andy Dalton and Bryce Young. Now, whether or not Dalton executes it and knows what he's doing, and whether or not this offense is meant for Andy Dalton, those are all different questions. Like, it's three no's. He doesn't know what he's doing. The game plan is not made for him. It's made for Bryce Young. And what was the third question? I don't know, but the answer is no. He's not ready. Injury related. Probably not the best quarterback for the job. So a lot of people are like, well, put Hendon Hooker in the game. Well, this is why he didn't go in the game. This is why he wasn't even able to go out there against Buffalo, and why Canales wants to avoid Hendon Hooker going against the Green Bay Packers, which is he can't even run the game plan. It's not that he doesn't know it, but it's like the playbook it's not even made for his skill set. So the offense completely changes with him in the game. And that's why they're so desperate to get Young back in there. If Dalton can play, they're not desperate to get him out there, but they would rather him than Hendon Hooker because he knows what he's doing. He's run the offense for however long now, and it's something that he has experience with. They don't have faith in Hendon Hooker. They don't want him out there. It will change completely the function of the offense, and that is why Canales is desperate for Bryce Young. Desperate to get Bryce Young out there. But I'm telling you, this is going to be a good game for me to work on my dad groan. Just sitting back in the recliner, just... Micah Parsons sack. Bryce Young drops back. Pressure's there. Yosh Nijman. Chandler Zavala, 7.1 pass blocking grade PFF. Against this Packers D-line. It's going to be an awful day. You don't want Young back there. We're in hell. We're in quarterback and injury hell in Carolina, and they just need to get out of this game unscathed. And Canales, I think he's so concerned because he goes, it might come down to Hendon Hooker, and it's not that Bryce Young's not ready. It's just like, well, Bryce Young's going to be behind a struggling offensive line because that's what Yosh Nijman and Chandler Zavala are. We're going to go into them in a minute. And then Hendon Hooker, who's like your last resort. That's the guy that's, the last guy sitting on the bench besides Mike White, who's been here for a cup of coffee. He can't even execute the game plan. So I think Canales is in a really tough spot. I think they're just trying to get out of this game unscathed. And honestly, I don't even blame them. Like, the Packers are really good. You're playing at Lambeau. Micah Parsons is coming into his own. Like, this is a less winnable game than the Buffalo game. Because the Buffalo game, you could at least run the ball. And someone commented it. They go, it's going to be like that game Mac Jones went into Buffalo and it was snowing and Bill Belichick threw like 3 passes the whole game. That was feasible against the Bills. Maybe not that exact approach, but the Bills gave up 5.8 yards per carry going into that game. You could run the ball. The Packers, I have it here, it's a third ranked defense against the run. They're not going to let you run the ball. That pass rush is coming alive. Like, it might be a game where you just go, all right, we'll go 4-5. Just get out of here. Like, just get out unscathed and come back next week and figure it out then, when maybe Cade Mays and hopefully Taylor Moton is healthy by then. He might be good to go for Sunday, who knows. But here is Dave Canales on Chandler Zavala, who's going to have a big role in the offense potentially in this matchup against Green Bay.
Couldn't be a better time for Chandler to step in here and to be back available for us. You know, his window has just opened up. You know, a lot of times you don't want to rush guys back out there. He looked great today. We need him. So it kind of ties up well for us to have that help inside and to have Austin Corbett in here to be able to step in for Cade to do that. You know, it feels like we're going to be able to put our best group out there that we can to give us a chance to win.
Chandler Zavala scares the heck out of me. So here is a quote I pulled from 2023, just because we need to go back to this. Chandler Zavala is sort of like the Jonathan Mingo of the offensive line. A Fitterer guy, developmental project, never worked out. Maybe Joe Gilbert has gotten him to a point where he's serviceable, but Chandler Zavala was the problem in 2023. Chandler Zavala is why you paid $150 million to Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis to come in here in 2024 and right the ship. Chandler Zavala is honestly why Dan Morgan, he is like the objective 1A for Dan Morgan. He gets into the office the first day he's got the GM job, and it's like, yeah, we need some guards. Zavala struggled mightily in protection in 2023. The 4th round pick that same year earned a 7.1 passing block grade, as he allowed pressure on 14.2% of his opportunities. So that's when Chandler Zavala had a more prominent role in the Panthers offense compared to 2024. I think he was banged up a lot of last season. But needless to say, a guy that you really don't have a ton of faith in played decent in the preseason. He was a lot better than some of the practice squad players you have. So Chandler Zavala is better than the other players. So if Cade Mays can't go, Corbett's at center, and you have Chandler Zavala out there, he's better than the practice squad guys for sure. But this season, only 100 offensive snaps played, 7 pressures allowed, 1 sack given up. Has a 44.7 overall grade, but only on 100 snaps. He concerns me. And this whole thing has worked because the offensive line was so dominant. And the Panthers' offensive line has been dominant against the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Jets even, to a much lesser extent. But you've been able to move the ball, run the ball effectively, protect Bryce Young for the most part. He's had pressure in a couple games for sure. The Arizona game, he had some pressure on him. I think a lot of that was more on the quarterback, but you've protected the quarterback for the most part. You've been able to run the ball. We all know that. Piecing this thing together with Chandler Zavala and Yosh Nijman kind of concerns me. But I do optimism here. Yosh Nijman. So I pulled this because I remembered when they signed Yosh Nijman in 2024, Packers fans were a little bit sad because Yosh Nijman comes from Green Bay to let him go. And in 2022, I remember this performance because I remember the tape. Nijman held his own against DeMarcus Lawrence and Defensive Player of the Year candidate Micah Parsons. Nijman mostly went against Lawrence and played well enough to say that while Lawrence had his moments, Nijman won the battle. And there are a couple of clips of him owning Parsons too in that game. This again in 2022, Nijman has played well enough on the right side that the Packers can project him as a starter next year, including the option at the time they could cut David Bakhtiari. So Nijman was a guy the Packers were very high on, but he's sort of like Andy Dalton. He'll have some games, he'll flash, he'll show you something. One game's maybe really good, the next game is abysmal, it's awful, you're like, get him out of the game, please. So this is who is making up the Panthers' offensive line as you head to Green Bay to take on the Packers. A big concern, and I think, again, this has to be calculated into the equation as to whether or not you put Bryce Young in the game. This is what is keeping Dave Canales up at night. And he's got a lot of decisions to make. But here is T-Mac, in other news, who had this to say about his rookie season so far. He has been one of the bright spots.
It was average.
What would it take to go above that?
Win more games. Obviously, that's the main thing. We want to win as much games as we possibly can. And, we're sitting at 500 right now, but I feel like, there's a lot of games that we left out there that we should have won. So, yeah.
So I wonder if T-Mac listens to the tone, because I told you going into the season, 76 receptions, 1,076 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's what rookie wide receivers selected in the top 10 since 2021 average in their rookie season. 76, a little over 1,000, 6 touchdowns. T-Mac's at 37 receptions, 512 yards, and 2 touchdowns halfway through the season. So he's on pace to be right about average. And I think this is a guy, he's a wide receiver. He definitely has numbers in mind at some point. I'm not saying he's been a prima donna or anything like that. I'm just telling you that receivers care about the numbers. They all do. And the speech at the end about caring about winning, obviously he's saying that, and he does care about winning. But let's keep it with the numbers here. And he's been right about average for those top 10 selections. And honestly, I'm very optimistic about him, because it's like he has room for improvement. The timing's been really good between him and Young and Dalton, even in the small moments at points. I mean, as long as Dalton can get the ball there and not try to holster it and do one of those pump fakes where he's like trying to, like do a draw in a Western movie. But the timing's been good. You have a couple of those one-handed catches early in the season where he tried to catch the ball with one hand and pluck it out of the air like an octopus. If he had some of those back, I think his numbers are even a lot better. There's room for improvement. He's doing it without a passing attack that can really push the ball downfield. Like some of those rookies in that analysis, I think you had Jalen Waddle. His rookie year, was that a big year for Tua? I forgot, but Tua's been decent at points. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. So some of those players bringing up that average, they've had really good quarterbacks who can push the ball downfield. Tua, not so much anymore, but maybe in that lone season with Jalen Waddle, and definitely Joe Burrow can push the ball to Jamar Chase. So he's doing all the right things. You feel very comfortable with him. And I think, again, if you want to talk about bright points for this front office, here is Bill Barnwell, I believe he's an ESPN analyst, on the Panthers' choice to move on from Adam Thielen. He has been lost in the shuffle, writes Barnwell, while the Panthers won't see the 4th-round pick that forms the bulk of the return until 2027, getting out from what was owed to a player who has 47 receiving yards. Yes, 47 on 12 targets and 5 receptions. That's it for Thielen. It's an easy victory. So revisiting the Thielen trade, which I was upset about. He's got lost in the shuffle in Minnesota. I think he really just wants to go back there as he wants to be, a mentor. And he wants the coaching role, and he likes Minnesota, and they have nice lakes. And it's fun. One guy commented when I was ripping Minnesota, I called it a big Target, a big retail giant. He goes, no, there's over 10,000 lakes here. Come on, we'll go to the jet ski. He literally commented that. But I don't know. The Panthers won the trade, and it's looking good from the receiving core standpoint. T-Mac balling, Thielen not. Okay, let's talk about this. And this is in other news in terms of the trade deadline that's approaching November 4th at 4 p.m. November 4th at 4 p.m., the NFL trade deadline. Panthers don't want to move on from Chuba Hubbard, writes Joe Person. Canales leaned on Hubbard while establishing a culture during his first season. The Panthers gave Hubbard a 4-year, $33.2 million extension last year. That includes $4 million guaranteed this year and $4.5 million guaranteed in 2026. Person goes on to write, although that's the Panthers' perspective, right? The Panthers say they don't want to move on from Hubbard. Morgan always does this. They always do this. They always put this out. Of course we don't want to move on from him. Well, someone who's maybe more grounded to the other side, a talent evaluator tells The Athletic, tells Joe Pershin, any running back needy team would likely be leery about giving up a pick and taking on Hubbard's contract. Given Hubbard's value as a complement to Dowdle and a team leader, I don't see the Panthers making him available unless he tried to force the issue, which isn't his style. So no one wants to trade for him. It's probably not going to happen. And I wanted to bring this up for this reason. I don't think they should have paid the running back in hindsight. And I think Hubbard is just a good human being, good Panther. I think you signed him when you needed a leader. But moving forward, good teams don't do that. Unless you have one of these elite running backs like the Niners or the Bills that can catch the ball, that's, four-dimensional as a runner, a receiver, can do it all. I don't think it's great to sign the running back and pay him $30+ million. I don't think it's the best thing you can do. I don't think it's the best thing to do. And now they have this situation where they have these two downhill runners that need the volume to get going. Dowdle's been great even without the volume, but they're players that want to be workhorses. They want the 30 carries. And it's sort of like you have two wives, and now they both found out about each other. And now they're both sitting there, and Hubbard's at the quarterly leadership council meeting with Dave Canales. He's got the chinos on and the meta glasses and, talking about business logistics, while Dowdle is taking the read option handoff, running into three defenders instead of giving it to Hubbard on the field. And it's sort of this, it's a dynamic that's bound to fail just based on who these guys are. And maybe that was a mistake in hindsight, giving Hubbard that 4-year, $33.2 million extension, giving him the guaranteed money. Again, it's tough to say that about a guy that you like, but you found Dowdle for next to nothing. Dallas just let him go. I like to say as free agents, there's probably 10 guys you could sign right now that could get 1,000 yards. Unless you're talking about the McCaffreys, the James Cooks, the Alvin Kamara, that player who is just a beast. You can put him in the slot. You can put him outside. You can do everything. Sometimes it's best not to sign the running back to that type of deal, but obviously the Panthers did at the time because they liked the leadership quotient that Chuba Hubbard brought to the table. This is The Tone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have so much more coming up for you on this amazing podcast. Thank you so much for the kind words and kind comments. It's like energy, I'm telling you. I've ran ultra marathons before. It's sort of like energy juice reading those things. And my whole life's like an ultra marathon. I just keep putting my head down and working and working and working. And I see those comments. And I'm just like, let's go. Let's freaking go. I just keep working. And I love it, man. It's so fun. I'm having a blast. This is The Tone. Thank you for riding along. This is your stop. Don't forget to tip the Uber.